Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Johnny Vlogs. I'm John Lorden, and today I want to talk about investigations. Kind of as an overall topic, but I want to touch a little bit on the 2020 investigation of the Lauren Spierer case. Any of you brain scratchers out there know I covered that one a few weeks ago, and 2020 just did some coverage on it this past Friday. I believe that's the 24th of June, if I've got my calendar, my mental calendar right. But before I start, I have to thank several of you new Patreon supporters. Number one, Elizabeth Jubera. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon supporter, as well as Ben Salmon. Thank you, Ben. I always enjoy talking to you in the comment threads. Colleen Marie McPherson also jumped on the Patreon bandwagon. Thank you so much, Colleen. As well as Holly Castle with a big donation. Holly, thank you so much. I truly appreciate all of your support out there. It helps keep me doing what I want to do, which is have my time freed up so I can jump into these investigations and continue making these videos that are very important, I think, not only to me, but also to you guys. And the more I hear from people, from family members of those that I feature in their videos, the videos are very important to them too. So I really appreciate being able to do that. Now, kind of along that, let's talk about investigations. So I just watched the 2020 on the Lauren Spierer case, the most recent one that they've done. They might have covered it before. And it struck me in a few certain ways. First of all, what I wouldn't give to have the resources that that type of show has. I mean, they're able to get people that are in prison to do lie detector tests. I mean, just the level of accessibility and resources that they have. In one way, it's very inspiring to me, because I do hope someday that someone notices me out here in YouTube land, picks me up and says, "Hey John, we're ready to turn you free. Here's the resources you've been, hoping and wishing for. Now use that investigative mindset that you've built up over this past year and a half and go at it." Because that's the flip side of the coverage for 2020 for me. I was pretty frustrated at the reporter, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and just the way he was going about his investigation. First of all, they definitely played up some dramatic elements of this case. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great to show footage of the family. I've even commented in my Brain Scratch Searchlight video, her mother, she speaks very well about the pain that she's going through. And I think it's important to communicate that so that everyone out there has a sense of urgency and understands what this is like to go through. This, I cannot imagine much worse in terms of things that you can face in this world than having your child go missing. And Lauren's mother, she speaks very strongly and very well to that. So I don't mind any of that footage. There was a couple of leads that they chased down that I was just sitting in my chair going, why are they wasting those resources that I'm telling you would be amazing to have, and the viewer's time by doing these segments? And once the segments concluded, the only thing I could come out with is, well, this is still a television show, and they are trying to wrench out any drama out of the truth of this story that they can. Can I really knock them for that? Not in particular. However, I think because they're focused on finding the drama, that is a bit of a different mission than someone that is focused on finding the truth. And that's where I think I got a little frustrated. Of all the people that spent time with Lauren that last night, primarily there's three main guys that we can talk about. They only tried to interview one of them. And he shut them down with a lawyer like he constantly does. I mentioned this in my Brain Scratch Searchlight video as well. And that's just where they kind of ended it. Now, they didn't, maybe they tried and they just didn't feature it, but apparently they didn't try to talk to the actual guy that's the person that says he saw her last. And they had their investigator kind of standing out in the street. Well, this is where she was last seen. Well, how do we know that? Because as far as the research I've done, that is basically hearsay testimony from one guy, and one guy that might be part of a conspiracy of 2 or 3 guys to get rid of Lauren if she did have some type of overdose, which is strange to me, because their investigator was also leading very strongly to that situation, thinking that maybe she overdosed and they tried to get rid of her body, even going as far as saying what river that they could have dumped her in. So it's weird. I'm happy that there are resources being put forward to the investigation. I was happy to hear that law enforcement still considers this investigation ongoing, but there's even a flip side to that for me. And 2020 was very good about bringing this out, that law enforcement there won't release the footage of her. And even her own family has not seen the footage of her on that last night. I don't know why that's the case, and I really wish that there was some laws to fix that. I mean, if you're talking about a case like this, this is not only of public interest, obviously, if you have 2020 covering it, as well as little, YouTubers like me, but there's also a potential issue of public safety here. You're talking about college girls. They've had other students go missing from this location. That footage in the right hands with the right eyes looking at it might provide some details that law enforcement has not picked up on. And it boggles my mind. Why wouldn't they put it out into the public domain for people to respond, react, send in their tips, and get this thing rolling again? I don't know. And I really wish there was some law or, a congressman or someone looking to help this. And I think it should be done almost at a state or possibly even federal level, because time after time in these cases, you go trying to find the footage and the police are keeping it under wraps. And is that in the public's best interest? I highly doubt it. I highly, highly doubt it. I understand you will hear from police officers or inspectors, detectives in a few cases where they can't release footage because it might tip off some information that they need in their investigation. I understand that. We're talking about footage of a girl walking out and down the street. What could that tip off? I have no idea. So it's a bit frustrating. Man, what I wouldn't give to have those resources and have gone down that rabbit hole in place of the investigator they had working on 2020. Because it's just the right questions to ask were never asked, the right people to speak to. They got 1 out of 3. They spent a lot of time on this lie detector test that I knew right from the moment they started talking about the white truck had nothing to do with the case. The police had ruled that out. That was known early on. And admittedly, there might be some value in them verifying that information, retesting the police's theory. I get that. But they spent a significant amount of time and resources on that part of the story, and it ultimately turns out to be nothing, a big flat zero. If you want to check it out for yourself, you can see 2020 on Hulu. That's where I will usually catch it. It's not cataloged very well. They pretty much only have the dates as the episode title. So you'll have to know it's for, I believe it's June 24th. Don't knock me around if I got a day or two off on that, but it is definitely the late June 2016 episode, so you can check it out for yourself. There is a lot of value in some of the research that they've done. They retell the story. I was surprised that they missed some details, though, about her last moments, and this is something I'm going to leave with you guys. There was another bystander that clearly saw her fall over and hit her head on the steps that she was sitting on, and talked literally about the sound of it, that she could tell that someone had hit their head very hard. That is before Lauren went walking off with the guy that was supposedly taking care of her, and then fell 2 more times before he threw her over his shoulder to get her back to his place. And still, how do you go from that time frame of her not being able to walk on her own, and literally 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, she's saying, I want to go home, and she's leaving the building on her own accord and successfully walking down the street, according to that last witness? That really doesn't make a lot of sense. I really, really wish that they would have focused more on the 3 guys that were interacting with her towards the end. I think they could have really helped push this case into a positive direction if they had done that. And once again, my heart just goes out to that family. So I didn't mean for this to be a Brain Scratch Searchlight update. I wanted to talk more about investigations. So before we go, I just want to run this theory out there and get your feedback on it in the comments below. I have been struggling since I started doing this type of work, looking at one type of law enforcement agency and how they respond to specifically missing people and murder cases, and then looking at how other law enforcement agencies respond to those same cases as well, and seeing extremely varying degrees of policies and actions and activities. I don't get it. And maybe this is just my stupid IT old career mindset coming through, but for me, I believe that there is one good process that all these departments should be following. And I am seeing wild variance to where I don't believe that that's the case. I don't believe that there is a handbook of how to do a homicide investigation for police departments and all the police departments have the same handbook. I'm not buying it. Or missing person cases. I'm not buying it. And I wish that they would centralize those services so that methods could be developed, refined, and then taught specifically to those types of investigators so there could be some strong consistency in how these things are researched and handled. Quite honestly, in my dream scenario, investigations of homicide and missing people would come out of the local police forces. They would not be part of that same organization that rolls up to the local law enforcement. They would be at a bit out of a different department, possibly at the state level. I see there needs to be some rallying of methods and bring everyone's method to the table. But trust me, if you get the right minds at that table and those people have meaningful dialogue, they will boil it down to here is how you can properly investigate a case. There has to be one best method, and I sincerely doubt that all these little, some of them are small, but any localized law enforcement offices, I don't think they're operating on a general method like that. I think they're operating in their own way, and we're seeing wildly inconsistent results because of it. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that wacky? Is there a benefit to running in different ways? Maybe a regionalized benefit? You know, if you have someone that goes missing in an area where there is marshy swampland, that investigation might be a little different than another type of investigation. I want to hear your thoughts about that, so please drop it in the comments below. But for me, I really believe that there should almost be this process book. Just, you know, here's how it's supposed to go. Even if you do come across different regionalized twists on that, those could be incorporated in this kind of super manual in my mind of how to properly conduct an investigation. And that manual would of course have to be flexible, because I do think that the times have changed. Doing an investigation nowadays, the internet is a significant part of that. Do we really have investigators that know about that at every step? I can tell you for a fact we don't. I can tell you just on cases I've researched, I've spoken to small law enforcement agencies that didn't even know about the NamUs database. So there is some process improvement that I think could really help some of these cases. And I don't know where to put that message except to you guys, because I don't know how to address that at a big level, but there is an answer to it if people would start asking that question. Could we do this better? At least that's my 2 cents on it. And that's what Johnny Vlogs is all about, my 2 cents. But you guys can add your 2 cents, or maybe even more, in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it if we could take a look at that all together and just kick that theory around. Do you think there'd be a benefit to centralizing murder and missing persons investigations into a separate department, potentially at the state level? Thank you so much for joining me today on Johnny Vlogs. Sorry it's a bit of a deeper or heavy one, but that's kind of where I go. It's always up to what I'm feeling, and I really just wanted to talk about that 2020 coverage. It's kind of cool to me that I had covered it just a few weeks before, but then there was just a few frustration points when I was watching it where I literally wanted to shake the guys and say, you're wasting time doing this. Go look at these guys and talk to them. Why? Why did you miss this huge opportunity to talk to these guys? Just because you wanted some footage of a reporter going up and being told that, hey, I'm going to sue you, and putting a hand in his face? Who cares about that footage? That footage, sure, it'll get you some ratings. Is it going to open the communication that you might need to actually get that guy to sit down in front of a camera? In my opinion, probably not. So I'll keep watching 2020, but anyway, I'm not trying to turn you guys off of 2020. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel. Take care.